What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video we are diving back into the Great League Remix Cup with a Shadow Aggron. I really wanted to give this a try as it's extremely spicy and it's a meme Pokemon for raiding, right? If you see teammates or if you bring it into a raid, everyone just kind of looks at you. But it actually can put in some work in limited cup metas because of the role that it fulfills, that steel rock typing and being extremely bulky. We also have Shadow Poliwrath and Dewgong as our safe swap. So let me know what you guys think about Poliwrath, because it is, if you guys missed the news, it is getting counter as the fast move for Community Day this month, which makes it incredible. And there will actually be games today where if I had counter, it would have been way better. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, getting into the first battle here, we have Poliwrath on the lead versus Carbink. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, battlers of all ages. Carbink is here, and thankfully, because we do have Mudshot and Scald, we are doing super effective damage, and they make a great swap now into Vigoroth here to catch the charge move. Now this Scald only does neutral damage, so that was a great catch by them, because obviously I would have loved to land a dynamic punch right there, and this is where counter would have been so helpful. This is match number 1. Counter right here would have allowed me to farm down the Vigoroth. I wouldn't have to throw a Scald here. I could have just fully countered down. But Scald thankfully does a lot of damage and is able to take out Vigoroth. So they kept the Carbink alive in the back with 2 shields. So what we're going to look to do is swap into Dewgong, as they do show a Cresselia, and I'm going to go ahead and bank a Scald right there just in case I need it. Now this matchup against Cresselia can be a bit tough, and we're not coming out of here hoping to beat the Cresselia with a Dewgong, as they do swap into Carbink. But this is a great opportunity now for us to go for Drill Run, which is why Dewgong is a tank or a Pokemon that you guys definitely need on your roster, because this season it got access to that charge move, and it is worth the double legacy fast move and charge move Ice Shard and Icy Wind if you guys have a good PvP IV. So we go for the Icy Wind and we get the shield right there, and now we're coming in with the Shadow Aggron. Carbink cannot do any damage to a Shadow Aggron because of its typing, so they go ahead and throw, and Shadow Aggron does not care. You think you're a tank? Well, watch this. Moonblast does absolutely nothing. We're going to go ahead and smack down right here. Not a care in the world. And we still have our Poliwrath with a Scald ready to go. So Moonblast not going to be enough to take us out. They will swap out into Cresselia, so we're going to go ahead and go for the Meteor Beam here. Meteor Beam will force a shield, because if they let it go through, it's over. And it also boosts our attack so that the smackdown does more damage for us. And now Cresselia is within range where 2 Scalds should be enough to take them out, so we're going to go ahead and save the charge move, because Cresselia cannot get to 2 more Grass Knots before Poliwrath can get to 1 Scald right here. So we're going to go ahead, because we already have 1 banked, that's what I mean. So we're going to go ahead and go for the first Scald, and now we're going to look to go for the second. And remember, Carbink is still in the back, but it's out of energy. It threw back-to-back Moonblast against the Aggron. So we can safely go for Scald right away. And now it's going to be a race between Mudshot to Scald and the Rock Throw damage here from a Carbink. So this gets extremely close, but we're still able to pull it off. So good game, very well played. But I think it would have been a lot better for us if we had Poliwrath with counter for that Vigoroth that came in, right? So good battle. That was game number 1. All right, moving into the next one. We have Poliwrath on the lead versus Jellicent. Now this is a Pokemon that this team has a bit of a hard time with, but it is manageable. Now they decide to swap into their own Dewgong here in this matchup. So what I'm going to look to do is soft lose this matchup and come in and load up on energy. So we're going to go ahead and just go for Drill Runs here, as it does do neutral damage. And then again, I don't want to be giving up a shield. Well, I mean, I might give up a shield here towards the mid-game. We'll have to see how it plays out. But I don't want to take Switch, is what I'm getting at here, because I don't want the Jellicent to come in and just freely load up on energy, right? So we're going to go ahead and let these Drill Runs go through. We're going to go ahead and go for the back-to-back, as we do have enough energy now. And we'll have to see how they decide to play this. This first one might not get the shield, but we're going to go ahead and go for the second one now, as we do win CMP tie. And this, if it gets a shield, I think might warrant us to, and it does get the shield, which is perfect, to no shield this next charge move. And then I'm actually going to look to come in with Shadow Poliwrath right now because I don't want to get farmed down. This is also going to draw out the Jellicent. Now you may be thinking, hold on, you're running Scald and Dynamic Punch. This is all resisted. Well, you are very right, but Scald, even if resisted from a Shadow Poliwrath, does a good amount of damage here against Jellicent. And we can stall this game out because we can safely shield the potential Shadow Balls, which that was the first one. And now we're sitting in a very good position. Jellicent's already at 50% HP. We're going to be getting to 2 more Scalds here, which might just get shield number 2 from the Jellicent. And the longer we are in this fight, which we do, so they're out of shields, the longer we're in this fight, the quicker our switch clock is going to be coming back up. So I might look to swap out and try to catch a charge move. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Scald right now. And I'm thinking it's 1 more Hex, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and do 1, and I'm going to go ahead and swap, and they do throw. Now that was a late throw by them, so I think they got a bit worried about me having the charge move. But we catch the Shadow Ball either way. Now, the question is, I don't think I can Mud Shot down in time, so I have to come in with Aggron to smack down. But they do swap out, and it's a poor little Alolan Sandshrew in the back. Look at how cute this thing is. But it's facing off against a Shadow Aggron. And I could just go for Heavy Slam. In fact, I thought about it. But, because Heavy Slam's neutral damage. But I thought, you know what? No. We need to teach this little thing a lesson. We're going to be going for the Meteor Beam, obviously, because... boom. Right? Am I right? We go for the Meteor Beam in this situation. Boom! One-shots the Sandshrew, attack boost as well, and they surrender. Good game. Alright, moving into the next one. I could have just gone for Heavy Slam, but Meteor Beam just felt so much better. We got Pidgeot here on the lead. So obviously a very tough lead for us. We're going to go ahead and swap into that Dugong as our safe swap. Get ahead on energy, and they do bring in a Dunsparce. So if Dunsparce is their best answer to a Dugong, then I think Aggron might have some play in the back. Because obviously, if there was a Shadow Machamp, or if there was, whatever that would counter a Dugong and Aggron, typically fighting types or rock, fighting types in this situation, there's the core duo there. But we can safely look to no shield right here, as Rock Slide's not going to do that much damage. But the whole play behind Dugong's safe swap is to draw out those typical counters to a Aggron. So Icy Wind will land. They decided to let it go. And now we're in a unique position where we don't have to shield this next Rock Slide, and we can look to force switch. So they're going to go ahead and go for the Rock Slide, which is totally fine. We can survive. We go for our own Icy Wind. I didn't want them to potentially get to another Rock Slide, so I want to try to force a shield here. But we actually get switch, which is perfect. Pidgeot's going to be coming back in. We're going to come in with Shadow Aggron. And now we're going to go ahead and let this go. It's going to be resisted Brave Bird or Feather Dance. No need to shield. They do decide to go for Feather Dance, and the final Pokemon is going to be a Scrafty. And this, again, is where counter would shine. If Poliwrath had counter, Shadow Poliwrath had counter right here, we would absolutely destroy this Scrafty. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But unfortunately, we have Mud Shot. So I go for the Scald. We get the attack drop, which is perfect. And now I'm going to go for Dynamic Punch, hoping my opponent thinks that I only have Ice Punch and Scald. So I'm going to go for the Dynamic Punch. It's my only win condition right here, was a Shield Bait, Scald, and a Dynamic Punch, no shield. But unfortunately, they just decided double shield, which is the safe play. And Aggron now is going to get smacked down. Now, this is going to be pretty funny. This is a power-up punch that you guys are about to see. Look at how much damage that did to Shadow Aggron. It's a good game. But once again, like I said at the beginning of the video, there are opportunities where once you get that Community Day Poliwrath with counter, these matchups completely flip on their head. Alright, we have a Galvantula here on the lead, so we're going to go ahead and go into Dugong. Yes, both, it does take super effective damage from Galvantula, but the Dugong is a bit bulkier, and I can safely shield right here. It is going to be a lunge, so that's a good shield bait by them. But we do draw out the Shadow Machamp. This is very, very important, why I said I use Dugong as the safe swap, because you do a few things. You draw out those fighters, so a Shadow Machamp in this position. You debuff the opponent with Icy Wind, allowing them not to do as much damage. And then you can easily come in now with Poliwrath. Again, if we had counter, we could go straight for the farm down, but unfortunately, we have to throw energy. And I'm just going to keep repeating this throughout the video because I really want you guys to understand how good Shadow Poliwrath is going to get once it gets counter. Now, Cross Chop, not enough to KO us. We're going to go ahead and overload a bit on energy. Granted, that was probably too much. I was debating whether taking the Volt Switch damage or the counter damage, but I should have thrown one turn sooner. But we're going to come in with Aggron now, and they're staying in with Galvantula. So unfortunately for them, they get farmed down, and the final Pokemon is going to be a Pidgeot. That is going to be a good game. Very well played. Shadow Aggron taking that one. Alright, moving to the next one, we have Poliwrath versus Whiscash. Another situation where counter would completely change this matchup. In order to take out a Poliwrath, or in order to take out a Whiscash, I have to land these charge moves. And unfortunately, it's just not going to do enough damage to really one-shot. But counter with a Scald probably would, which is why I said you guys gotta get it. Now, I'm gonna be elite TMing my Shadow Poliwrath here, obviously, because it's gonna be worth it. I have plenty of elite fast TMs. Now, I let the Mud Bomb go through thinking I could survive long enough to get to one more Scald, so unfortunately, I go down. Now, this is a dangerous situation. If my opponent is reading this correctly, or if they, if they try to read what I just did, I am obnoxiously weak in the back to this Whiscash. So if I was the opponent and I saw the Poliwrath try to stay in and go down and then bring in a Dugong, I would automatically think there is another tank in the back that could be weak to ground type moves. So I would have swapped out of my Whiscash. Now they bring in a Ferrothorn. So this gives me hope. If there's a Whiscash and a Ferrothorn, my hope is that there is a flyer in the back, right? Because of the weakness to grass and the weakness to fighting between Whiscash and Ferrothorn. But there's actually a Charjabug, and I'm like, okay, this is spicy. I have entered into the spice zone. Never have I ever seen in Go Battle League a Shadow Aggron versus a Charjabug here in the Great League. But ladies and gentlemen, you just saw it. Aggron wins with Smackdown. Now we will see Ferrothorn come back in, and once again, we're going to go ahead and go for the Meteor Mash. Heavy Slam and Meteor Mash are both resisted, but that added attack boost right here is very nice. Now they're going to go ahead and try to load up on as much energy as possible. Obviously, if I went for Heavy Slam, I get back-to-back Heavy Slams right here, but Meteor Beam is just so much fun to use, and Dugong can safely win this game with double shielding and using the fast move of Ice Shard. So good game to my opponent. I was not predicting a Charjabug. I don't think anyone in here watching this video was. I thought it was a flyer, right? It makes sense. Weak to fighting, weak to grass. A Pidgeot would have made sense there. A Charizard would have made sense there. All right, good game. Now we got Ferrothorn here on the lead. And then, once again, this is a matchup where if you have counter, it's a completely different game. You could even have counter and power-up punch and Scald. Like, it's a completely different game. But thankfully, because of the energy gain here with Poliwrath, and the timing that I am going to attempt here with charge moves. I know a lot of you guys comment on my fast move timing. I know it's terrible. I am not the best at it, but I can thankfully get to 3 dynamic punches before they get to 3 power whips. So we go ahead and go for it, and that was, hopefully we can make it in time. We do sneak through a mud shot right there, which is perfect. We're going to go ahead and shield, and I believe it's one more mud shot for us to get to dynamic punch, which we do. Perfect. So this is going to be one-shotting the Ferrothorn. Now, obviously, if we had counter there, like, we just counter down the Ferrothorn. Doesn't matter. Boom! Caught you sleeping. All right, now we have a Drifblim in the back, so Dugong is going to come in, and they're staying in! This is such a giveaway that they have double flyer in the back if a Drifblim is staying in against a Dugong as they're desperately going for the Shadow Ball. The next Pokemon is going to be a Talonflame, I should say. So Shadow Aggron obviously is going to have a very, very good time against my opponent's team. So I'm going to go ahead and go for another Icy Wind here. This just does very nice chip neutral damage. But ultimately, the Talonflame has to throw a Flame Charge to take us out, and they are now low enough where a Smackdown is just going to take out the Talonflame. There's no hope for this poor bird. I'm so sorry. But they will, yeah, they're going to go down. Aggron's going to come in, and that's going to be a good game. Now, I decide once coming in with Aggron against the Drifblim, they did load up on some extra energy, so I didn't want to get hit with Shadow Ball, so I try to make the catch into Poliwrath, but ultimately they know they're just tapping their screen, like, they're just end it. Just end it. Now, I didn't know how much Shadow Ball was going to do, but I was concerned about the potential one-shot, near one-shot and farm down. That might have been dangerous, which is why I made that play. So, good battle. All right, moving to the next one, we got Poliwrath on the lead versus Double. So Double is a Pokemon you kind of need to watch out for. Again, if we had Counter, this is a completely different matchup. They would not be liking it. Now, they make a beautiful swap into Charizard here to catch my Dynamic Punch. But I tell you what, Charizard, here's my beautiful swap. 1, 2. There, Charizard got KO'd in less than a second. Like, it was gone. This is why it's fun using Shadow Aggron sometimes. Now, they're coming back in with the Double, and they're going to have to throw either Payback or Wild Charge. Body Slam is not going to do enough damage, so they go for the Payback, which is totally fine. I'm going to look to come in with Poliwrath and try to do as much damage as possible. And this is a scenario where I can safely go for Scald here. They're both the same energy, 50 energy, Dynamic Punch and Scald, but Scald has a chance to lower that attack. So we're going to go ahead, and ZyoniK, what are you doing? I go for Dynamic Punch. I just told you to go for Scald, so this was a mistake on my end, but we get a shield anyways, and we do see a swap out into Shadow Golbat, so this was a double flyer in the back, so obviously Dugong and Shadow Aggron is going to be taking this game for us as they go ahead and go for Poison Fang right away. I'm going to overload just a little bit on energy and go for this Icy Wind. I didn't want to get hit with another Poison Fang because then I could get farmed down by the Double, but now, boom. Now we can safely go for Icy Wind and kind of win this game. So that's going to be a good battle. I will shield the Body Slam. I have the most amount of health remaining left on Dugong, and Poliwrath could potentially get double kicked down. So we need to save health here on Dugong, go for the Icy Wind. We do get the attack drop, obviously, and now they're going to go ahead and build up the back-to-back Body Slam, so I will give up a shield because I wanted that Ice Shard damage to go through, as you guys can see, and now they have to throw back-to-back, but now Mud Shot right here will be able to KO. And you know what would have been better to KO? Counter, but that's okay. We're able to win this battle. Good game. Man, that Shadow Charizard, and that was the last battle. So, this team was pretty fun, pretty spicy, I will say. Obviously, if you use a Shadow Aggron, it pairs well with a Dugong Safe Swap, and you could have different leads there instead of the Shadow Poliwrath. But I wanted to utilize Shadow Poliwrath to show you that there are situations where, like against Scrafty, or against Vigoroth, or against Double, where Counter would have helped out so much more. And you could pair it like Medicham does, pairs it with Power Up Punch instead of Dynamic Punch. Or you could still run Dynamic Punch. And then you also have Scald and Ice Punch as coverage moves, which is really nice. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.